it reminded me of that, and I just laughed, and then everybody else started commenting on it, you know. And I felt like I found my tribe, in that streaming service. I'm not gonna say, well, not streaming, but like that chat. I'm not gonna say which one it is because I don't want no people going crazy. But I felt like I found my tribe, and sometimes people get in there that are hateful and say bad things, and just ruin your day, you know. And I've been trying to build that muscle where you can comment back on hate in a loving way, and I'm very proud of myself because I'm really learning, right? Because really, I don't hate them. I hate what they're saying, right? And I I'm struggling with my Christianity at this point, right? Because um, God put a warrior spirit in me, and I don't like nobody oppressing me since I was little, and I want to fight back, you know. And I want to fight back against anybody that's evil, that's hurting people, that's a bully, And sometimes they come off like that, and sometimes I come out my face, but not really like out of my face. I've learned to do it in a classy way, you know, in a way that makes them think. Because sometimes if you fight anger with anger, it's just gonna keep on repeating itself. And it's really, really hard. I'm sorry, I'll hold my phone a little closer in a minute, but I gotta smoke my cigarette. Anyway, I can only imagine the hate that the marginalized groups are feeling, you know, and it really hurts me because I absorb everybody's energy. Sorry, I've not had a chance to really wipe the coal out of my eyes. I have not had that against me before, but I feel bad for all of the marginalized groups, for LGBTQ, for, black people, for the Mexicans, for the people that are getting bullied on a daily basis, the Somalis, the Muslims. Like, I just have this pain in my heart that has been brewing like a slow cooker for a very long time, especially since 9/11. And, you know, they're your first reaction when something bad like that happens. I'm sorry, something's in my eye. When something bad like that happens, is to hate all of them, right? I was there. I was in 9/11. I was there in 9/11. You know, I'm sorry. I grew up a lot. And I remember the towers. All right, so long story short, I was a nurse, right? And I had a newborn baby that was sleeping next to me, and my son was in school, and uh, my mom called me and woke me up, and I had just had a dream. It's so weird. I just had a dream that two doves were flying in the air, and then all of a sudden they started going down, 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 down. And then when they fell, I didn't see them actually fall onto the ground. That's when my mom woke me up with the phone call. And she said, "Have you seen the TV?" And I said, "What?" And I turned on the TV and I saw one of the World Towers, World Trade Center towers, with the plane, that crashed into it. And I said, "I got to talk to you later." And I hung up and I'm just looking at the TV. And right at that moment, the second one hit. And you're like, "Oh my gosh." I freaked out. And I started listening to what they were saying, and that it was a terroristic attack and all these things. And then when the Pentagon came down, and I freaked out. I grabbed my baby in my pajamas. I wrapped her up with a quilt or comforter, however you want to say it. And I ran to my son's school and I went and got him. And it was bedlam. I mean, everybody was running around, freaking out, looking for their baby and everything, right? And that shit went up. And then, you know, um, hey, baby girl. My baby girl. Hey, Gunny. So then, everybody was trying to get their kid just to be sure. Come on, girl, get in there. And I was worried too because I was like, where my kid? Where's my kid? So finally I got him and I ran home, you know. Then I started second guessing my choice because um his our building was right on top of the the subway. And I was like, what if what if something blows up underneath us? Like, what are we gonna do? And I just felt this sense of dread and trauma that was building up. And stop it! It's brewing. And I swear, I was in front of that TV for 3 days. And I'm the kind of person that helps. And I sat there and I didn't take a bath. I didn't cook. I just took care of my babies and just cried for 3 whole days. And I was struggling because I wanted to walk down there to help because I'm a nurse. And I saw all of my nurse colleagues struggling, and it bothered me. But I knew I had to be there with my babies. I knew if something happened, I didn't want to leave them alone. I wasn't in that position. And I had to stay there and I had to watch it, you know? Um, and I found out, who was responsible. And I was angry. I remember looking outside my window and seeing people walking with dust all over them. I remember my grandpa was supposed to be on the top floor of that building that morning, but he overslept. My grandma let him sleep because he had a hard day the day before. And he could have died. I remember wondering who else in my life was dead, right? I don't know if anybody else that I knew was there. I was there 2 weeks before that, eating at the restaurant up there, Wonder of the World, something like that. And I was like, wow, like how close, right? And I'm still trying to remember. It was just rough. And then I remember everybody's anger getting turned to like the Arabs and the Muslims and things like that. Muslims, it's like a religion, right? I believe. I don't know a whole lot about that, so I'm not going to quote on it because people are going to come after me. But I've turned off my comments just because I just cannot absorb all of that. My heart is full of love, and I just cannot. I have to take it in little bits at a time. So when I'm ready, I'll turn them back on, or I'll do like a members only for like $1 or whatever the cheapest amount. Because I'm not in this for the money. I'm just in it to let my feelings out because you don't have no one to talk to. You don't even know who to talk to these days. And I want the people out there to know that they're not alone, no matter what culture, no matter what sexual orientation, no matter what. I'm thinking about you. So I remember everybody's anger turning toward them, all of them. And we have a lot of them. I mean, we had a store downstairs, and they were run by Arabs. I'm not sure exactly what culture it was, but I know they were Arabs, right? They were from Middle East. And everything was love, in our neighborhood. Despite what everybody thinks, there's always going to be bad people in every culture. And every place you go to is going to be bad people. Doesn't matter. There's always going to be bad people. You're never going to stump that out. Until Jesus comes back again, or whatever you believe, there's always going to be evil in every culture, okay? But anyway, the Habibis were downstairs. I remember that. And they were so nice. I love them so much. They'll always ask about my day. How you doing? How you kids? I remember my son stole a lollipop one time from there by mistake. Like he just grabbed it, because he wanted it, And, Puerto Rican moms are like, what did you do? Like, you didn't pay for that. So I went in there and I was like, oh, winking at the Habibis. And I was like, Papi, that's wrong, right? You need to tell him what you did. And he said, I'm sorry. And then Habibi was like, it's okay. You can have it. Part of me was like, no. But I was like, Papi, do you know that's wrong, right? And he's like, yeah, I know, mommy. So then, Habibi gave it to him. And it was every morning. I'll go down there for coffee and like bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel or whatever, hero. And I just loved them. They were always so kind to me. I would go in there and be like, Assalamu alaikum. They're like, Malaikum salam, Malaikum salam, and all this stuff. And I enjoyed their culture. That's how it is in New York. Everybody enjoys each other's cultures. Everybody's accepting. And I was worried about them. I was like, I hope they don't get no hate for this because you cannot blame the actions of a few. You can't blame everybody for the actions of a few in any culture. That's like saying, let's just say, for example, right? Let's just say there's a white serial killers. Usually they're white. I've learned that we've had black ones, we have Spanish ones, but very little amount of there. But most of them is white, right? So you can't blame all white people because there's some serial killers. Like there's a very small amount of serial killers compared to the white population. So you can't walk around hating all serial killers. All white people. So I was gonna put it in my coffee. Oh shit. Well, anyway, I was worried about them. And it hurts me today to see what they're doing. Like they are causing so much fear in people regarding immigrants, even though I know technically, like, the law is the law, right? They're not supposed to be here if they don't have citizenship, or if they don't have a visa. So I know the law. Jesus, said to respect the law, and I respect the law. Sometimes I don't like it, but you have to respect the law. Ugh. My dog keeps tunneling in here and messing my camera up. So I understand what has to happen, right? I don't like it. I wish we could make room for all of them. We have tons of land. Excuse me, that we have available. Like when I drive, I see nothing but land. We have plenty of room. And most of them just live all in the same house, just to live here because they love it here. And it bugs me out how they take the actions of a few and just blame the whole culture, and they want to take them out. And that's not fair. That's not fair because there's a lot of good Hispanic people, Mexican people, Somali people, Muslim people. And if you really think about it, right? If you really think about it, when have you really had an encounter with a trans person? That is bad. When have you had a bad encounter with a Mexican person? They're usually quiet. They don't want to bother anybody. If they're here illegally, they want to avoid trouble, okay? They don't usually go around calling attention to themselves. They just earn their money, go home, and they take care of their kids and their family. And, you guys see it all the time. You go to the Mexican restaurants, they're very sweet, they're very kind, they're very quiet, very, very nice. They're just trying to take care of their families and give them a way to go, right? To live their life better than where they came from, because it's terrible over there sometimes. Just like we would do if this got bad over here, right? But now we don't have friends. But anyway, that's another topic. And it all starts with just a comment from the most powerful person in the world. And we know, like, he's just a pathological liar. And I think that they have been told through all of his rallies and things like that, that there are murderers and killers and rapists and stuff like that, right? But there's really, there are some, right? Yeah, there are. We have rapists and, not racist, rapists and killers and, thieves and all these things here too, you know? Everybody does. So he's telling the truth, right? Because every culture has it. And just because they're here doesn't mean we're not going to have any. They're not all good, but they're not all bad either. It's just a small fraction. Do we want those criminals here? No. And that's why we have a justice system. So like they would say things like, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, and as a dog owner, I was like, what? Because I love dogs. Don't mess with dogs, okay? And I was doing the research, and there's like literally like not one case of that, right? Documented. And they say, oh, the trans people are coming for your kids. They're having litter boxes in schools and all this shit, and then they get outraged, right? Because, people that are like Christians and stuff, they're like, what? All this sexual immorality, the trans and the gay and, all that stuff. And they feel like they have to do something about it, right? Which is what any family would do, which is any family, any Mexican family, anybody that has a family and children they're raising, they want to expose them to the best possible environment. So he taps into something that you believe in, and it just explodes it, like makes it like way worse. It makes you feel like the threat is real, right? It's big. It's all over you. It's all around you. It's sort of like when you watch Jaws, right? And you hear dun dun, and you just see the water, right? And you're like, it could be anywhere, And the movie is scary just because of that. It's not necessarily the part where he just comes and gets you, right? It's just like the dun, and you looking all around you, right? Just like, in New York, it's like, are all of these arrows gonna get us? Like, is it a conspiracy? But I knew better. Like, my experiences with them have always been good, and I know not all bad people. No, not all people are bad, right? We all have bad in us. We have a dark side, but not all people are evil. Like evil. Sorry, I gotta get it in before it gets cold. Not all of them are evil. So that's what he does. He wants to get anybody different out. And he uses the family values thing to get people riled up. He uses Christianity to get people riled up, and he taps into those things, You feel like you have to protect your family, and that's something we all of us want to do, right? And he's making you think there are so many threats out there to your children. But you don't realize there are always going to be sharks out there. There are always going to be bad people in every culture, in every city, in every state, in every country. And you have to rely on your own instincts to tell you what to do on a daily basis. So think about that, the best thing you can do is teach your children. That's where you're supposed to start. It is not up to you to fight all of the threats out there. It is not up to you to fight every single person that is defending them. It is not up to you to be hateful and tell people off, threaten people that are on the other side. Because you know what? People on the other side want to protect their children too. It is not up to you to take the law into your own hands and terrorize other people, because then you're no better than them. So what you can do, teach your children. Guide them. Guide them. They are going to do what they want in the end. But if you teach them, they may choose the right things. They may make the right choices. But you also don't realize that with your anger and hatred and all of the things you are doing and saying around your children, that is teaching them to do the same. Why not just show them love? Why not educate them? Why not be an example to them? Because you are doing all these things to other people, and they will do the same thing. And one day they may get killed, or they may be harassed, or, why not teach them to be kind people and to protect themselves and to avoid certain people? So, Trump lies a lot. And he preaches intolerance for anybody different. And a lot of the lies that he says has a grain of truth in it, right? So, like, take Laken Riley, for example. Laken Riley was a nurse here in Georgia. Beautiful nurse. I know nurses that knew her. And they said that she was so wonderful, caring, an amazing human being. And I wish I would have met her, right? It hurt me and I was angry. Before I knew who it was, even after, I was angry. I was like, throw the book at him, death penalty, everything, right? Like I would anybody. It doesn't matter if she is a nurse or not. But because it was a nurse, it hit home, right? It hit home worse. I wasn't defending him. No. I was like, I could do my own sense of justice, right? But I was like, it's not up to me. It's up to the courts and law enforcement. And it was not right what he did. But then Trump sees an opportunity to have hate turned toward every Mexican, just like they did back in the day in 9/11. He needs his base to say, fuck them all, right? Get them all out here. And then they feel like they have to protect their own families. So then they start doing the same. They start going out there after them, messaging them on their profiles, even though they're very nice people. I've seen a girl send me a screenshot of somebody that was being hateful toward her. And she's a beautiful girl. Good job, everything. And I was like, that's not right. You know what I mean? Like, they're just going after everybody, every Mexican. They don't care. But not all of them are bad, So that's how he does it. He makes people hate a certain group just because they did, like, one thing, And what I don't like is that he stripped away the rights of people that are on American land. They had the right to habeas corpus. They had the right to due process, where if you are arrested, you're entitled, even if you're not a citizen, okay? If your feet are on American land, you have due process, where you can prove your case and say, hey, I'm not a bad person. I didn't do this, Eventually, that person will be deported regardless, right? And that's what it is for. The court's there to have documentation to show why this person was taken to court, why he was arrested, why he was deported, and then we have documentation. And we can gather all of that information, and he can prove. If they were all murderers and killers and all this stuff, if he gave them due process, we'd know exactly the truth, right? We would know, yeah, they're all fucking evil, right? But no, we don't have any documentation, because he used Laken Riley to take that right away so that he can do God knows what. So he can take them all out. And you know what? People that are mad and want all of them out, they're like, fuck it. You know? Yeah. You know? But if the shoe was on the other foot and they took your due process away and your habeas corpus rights, you wouldn't like that. You know? You have to think about that. So they feel okay about it because they're on their side, right? Like they don't see that happening to them, but it sure as hell can happen to you one day. You know, if they're taking these rights away from certain people, they can take them away from everybody. And all he has to do is put a little crack on that law. And then one day he can just do away with it all he wants. Do away with it all. He breaks this rule, he breaks that law, this constitutional right, he cracks that constitutional right, that constitutional right, that constitutional right. And before you know it, there are so many cracks in the Constitution that he just says, you know what? It's all messed up. Let's get rid of it. Then none of us have rights. That's how it starts. That's another video. But the main point of this is that Trump sees things in black and white. Not black and white like black and white, but that too, but not black and white, black and white. Black and white meaning there's no gray areas. So you're either all good or all bad. You know, you either go along with this program and you're white, or if you say no or dissent in any kind of way or don't agree with them, you're out. And we've seen this over and over again. People have quit, you know. People have been on his side like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she did one thing, and now he hates her. Now he's like calling her Marjorie Taylor Brown and all this stuff. And, you know, his followers, a lot of them are mad and have stopped following him because of that, because they realize that they don't matter. They don't matter either if he can get rid of her, right? But he has an agenda, and if you don't go along with it, then you're out. He'll find somebody else to fill your shoes, right? And that's what MAGA doesn't like. They don't want to step on his toes. They don't want to step on the toes of the people around them. Like, I'm sure there are a lot of them that are in the closet, meaning like they just totally gave up on him by now. But they don't want to tell the people around them because they're surrounded with other MAGAs, and they're afraid to say something. And that's how you know it's a bad situation. You know? It's terrible. But do the research. I'm just saying, like, if you... I don't want to get into other topics. But I just want to tell you, like, if you follow his train of thought, you're going to be looking for threats everywhere. Everywhere. You know? And it's not like that here. You know? Like I said, we do have bad people. But you shouldn't be out there with pitchforks and torches and all of the things because you don't want, you know, any of them here. You know? I think that you need to let the law do what it's supposed to do, you know? And live your life, you know? Teach your children. Don't do anything that's going to put you in jail. Don't go after people because you don't know their situation. You know, there's a lot of good people out there. And if you believe in something, right? Let's just say let's take something silly like the litter boxes in schools, right? People are like, this sexual immorality is getting crazy and blah, blah, blah. They got little boxes in their schools. Look, find out what school it is that they're talking about. Call the school. Talk to the principal and find out yourself. Don't believe in the president's da-dum, 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 da-dum. Don't believe in that. Find out for yourself, okay? And do things in a decent way. You know? Don't go after furries. There are always going to be furry people out there, okay? There's always going to be people with kinks and different things about them. But you can't go after all the furries. Go after the school. Go to the school or call them. Find the proof. Find the proof. And then you decide for yourself. Okay? And you will see that it's nonsense. It's just meant for you to hate a certain group. You know? Go to a Muslim mosque or whatever they call it. Talk to them. And you may find that they are kind. That not all of them are like that. You know? Do the research. You know, why did they come here to attack us for 9/11? That's the next thing I'm going to get into. Because I really need to know. Why would they come all the way over here to do that? You know? Why would people do the things that they do? Just try not to get caught up in that. You know? Do the best you can for your family. Don't let your hate come out. I know it's hard because sometimes I want to go, "Argh!" And I have a few times. I ain't gonna lie. Like, my dark side is real. I don't deny my dark side, okay? But I do have control over my actions, okay? So I can control myself and do things in a classy way, you know? Or at least a decent way. And if you're constantly looking for threats out there, you are not going to live your life. You're not living your life. You're just so angry, you know? And the dark side is winning. Don't let it win. You know? Stay informed. If you question something, research it. We have information at our fingertips. Ask people around you. And decide what's the best course of action for your family. Take care of your family. Clean your house. Stock up the fridge. You know, have emergency plans in place. Teach your children. Talk to them about everything. And just know that it doesn't matter what you do as a parent. They're going to make their own choices. You know? May not like some of them. May not like them. But you have to lead by example. And I'm trying really hard to do that. And that's why I turned off my comments, because I don't want to give fuel to my dark side. Because I know I'm a warrior at heart. I'm a fighter. And the last thing people from MAGA need is hate. Turn back to them to fuel their hate. I want to show them love. I want to show them God's love. I want to show them the love that Jesus had for everybody, that Jesus suffered for everybody, not just one group. He died for every single person, sexual orientation, religion, race, ethnicity. He died for all of us. All of them. Even the immoral ones. You know? So if he could do that, I can show tolerance to the evil ones too. You know? So think about that. I hope it makes sense. At some point, I'll probably do a members only thing because I don't think I can fight all those battles. I just can't. I'd just rather be myself, you know. I just want people out there to know that I'm with you if you're suffering, and to reach out to the other side as well. You know, there are risks in doing this, but my kids are grown. They're wonderful human beings, you know, and I've tried to teach them as best I could with the love in my heart that I have, you know, and I know that there's dangers in this, but I want to reach out to the people that are suffering, that are alone, even the MAGAs that have changed their mind and they don't know what to do, you know, because we're all in it together. We have to do something about this. Anyway, that's enough time for today. God bless. Enjoy your day.